All right, welcome everybody to joining Ask Resource Center for the Learning for Lunch webinar series. Today is the first in the series of webinars that we'll be providing throughout the fall and winter. My name is Karen Thompson. I'm the director at Ask Resource Center, and I'm excited that you are here listening to the webinar today. Looks like we're having a couple more people join us as we get started talking. So I am going to go ahead and just really quickly run through some housekeeping for you. And before I do that, I'm going to switch it over so that Bridget, who is our organizer or who is our presenter, can show her slides. So I'm going to quick make her presenter.
Okay, can you see my screen?
We can see your screen.
Awesome.
All right, so and here are some tips for housekeeping for attending the webinars. So for the best sound experience, place yourself on mute, but rest assured that we're here behind the scenes making sure that you're on mute as well. So what I'd like you to do is if you have a question, there are two different ways that you can handle that. If you raise your hand, which you will see under the attendees panel on the little pane that you have for GoToWebinar, there's a little hand there. And if you click in that box beside your name, it raises your hand for me. Then I can see that your hand is raised and I can unmute your line while you ask your question. Now that only works if you have a microphone connected to your computer right now or embedded in your computer. If you don't have a microphone, we won't be able to hear you when you talk. So if you don't have a microphone, inside that little panel of options that you have for the webinar, the menu of options, there's one called questions. And if you click inside the questions pane, you can ask a question using text. So you can type it in and send it to me, and I'll be watching throughout the webinar. I can see those, and we'll, depending on what the question is, I can either stop Bridget at that time, or we can wait till the end and answer that question at that time. Otherwise, we will leave you on mute. And I think actually that's about it as far as the housekeeping components, other than to let you know that this is being recorded. Using headphones will improve your sound. And then you can also use the chat window if you want to be an active participant in this. I want to make it clear though, if you're make sure you chat with everybody so that everybody can see what you're chatting about. The questions pane will also do that same thing. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, welcome today to Debunking Common Myths about Using Assistive Technology with Young Children. Bridget Guillermini, Director of Simon Technology Center at Pacer Center in Minnesota, is our guest speaker tonight, or excuse me, this morning. Usually I produce these in the evening, can you tell? And this workshop is going to introduce the role of assistive technology and what can be accomplished with your child. Bridget's the director of Pacer Center at Simon Technology Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, as I stated before. She's a speech-language pathologist by training and worked for 9 years in public schools providing speech and language therapy for students at all grade levels with a wide range of disabilities. Before coming to Pacer, she helped coordinate assistive technology services and trainings in the Minnesota public school system. She has extensive experience as an AT specialist, serving since 2005 as a member of the Minnesota State Assistive Technology Leadership Team. Wow, that's a mouthful. Bridget presents on a wide range of AT topics as they relate to early childhood, literacy, communication, universal design, visual strategies, and mobile technology. She provides leadership for all of the projects at the Simon Technology Center, and she also directs Technology Improves Kids' Educational Success, or a project referred to as TIKES, which is an early childhood and assistive technology project. Bridget, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. One of the things that my bio doesn't really talk a whole lot about is that I am a big geek. I absolutely love this job and get to most days play with technology and help people. And so I have a very privileged job. I say I have the best job in the whole world. And as you mentioned, I work at Pacer Center, but I'm presenting this series in partnership with one of the organizations that we work with, which is the Center on Technology and Disability. And they are an organization housed out of Washington, D.C. with FHI 360. And it's my pleasure to partner with them to bring you this series. We are celebrating, and I'm so excited about this, our 30th anniversary as a technology center with Pacer, actually this Saturday. So we've been doing this for a long time, and we really enjoy sharing what we know with other folks. So there is a plethora of resources on our website. I'm not going to go into all of them. Because you can go to the web and check those out. However, if you can't find things easily, and Karen, I can send you this handout so that you can post it with the recording.
Perfect, thank you.
But my email address is also a place to look to. So if you can't find something that you're looking for quickly and easily, just shoot me an email and I can most likely find it in a quick fashion. So today we're going to talk about assistive technology, and before I talk about some of the common myths that often stand in the way of either finding the right technology or implementing the technology, I want to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page about just what assistive technology is. You may have heard of this this thing called universal or inclusive design, which is designing learning environments to meet the needs of hopefully everyone, but just about everyone. And sometimes we can leverage that with assistive technology. And assistive technology consists of two things. We have the devices or the stuff, all of the things that make up the technology, and then the services that support the finding and the implementation of the technology. And we also call these the practices. And so the stuff consists of, and we'll talk about this several times because it's one of the myths, but a range of things, and the services support the acquisition, the identification, the implementation of these things. And so it consists of evaluating and training and fixing technology. One of the things that's happening, and you've seen this, whether you know about assistive technology or not, kind of rapid changes in technology in general. We've seen the introduction of the iPad and tablet technology and touch screens, and things are changing at a pretty rapid pace, almost to the point where we can take that word assistive out of the equation and start looking at mainstream technology that's been designed universally or designed really well to meet the needs of more individuals. And this is a win-win for the disability community because it means that the prices of things come down, and it means the availability of technology is just much more accessible than it was even just a few years ago. So assistive technology acts as a bridge between ability and disability. And oftentimes the very simple definition of that federal definition that we find in IDEA, or the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, very simply, assistive technology is anything that can help a child do something that they otherwise couldn't do. That's a pretty big range of things to say anything. It's a tool that helps a child get from here to there, and it very much supports the inclusion of children with disabilities. And one of the things that keeps families, educators from kind of understanding assistive technology are a variety of myths that have been around for a while. And part of the work that we do here is debunking those myths. These myths impact how people understand technology and their willingness to use assistive technology, and knowing these myths will help us understand how to debunk them, how to address them, and how to implement and use pretty powerful pieces of technology. So one of the myths is that assistive technology is only computers and tablets. And this seems to be especially true when we're working with young children. So when we're talking with families who have young children, to say that something like assistive technology would help support development, growth, and learning of their child, oftentimes what they're pictured in their head is computers and tablet technology, because that's the only thing they've been exposed to as far as what technology is. That's what mainstream technology, quote unquote, looks like. But the reality is that assistive technology consists of this range of things. It is a range of things that actually some components have no technology at all. There are no batteries, there are no wires, but because of the federal definition of what assistive technology is, anything that can help a child do something that they otherwise couldn't do, that's our litmus for what is assistive technology. So we can find technology with no batteries, no wires. We can make technology. We can buy assistive technology. And as we move up this continuum of things considered assistive technology, things become a little bit more complicated. They have batteries, wires, moving parts. They might talk and do things and have bells and whistles. And a couple of things that we like to point out on that continuum is that low-tech is not better than high-tech, and high-tech is not better than low-tech. And it doesn't mean we have to start at low-tech when we're looking at and considering what kinds of assistive technology we want to think about or know that might help a child. And it doesn't mean we start at the high end either. And the reality is that the variety of tools that will assist a child with a disability are likely going to be a combination of low-tech, mid-tech, and high-tech. Because even if we land on a high-tech, let's say an iPad with a communication app on it, we're going to want to have a backup for when that technology does not work. And if you work with technology at all, doing webinars like this, in your daily life with email and different things, you know that technology is fallible. It fails. And so having a backup plan is really important when we're looking at technology. And that's one of the very important roles that lower and mid-tech technology plays in assistive technology. Ultimately, the goal when we're thinking about technology for children is to match the need of the child or the student with the appropriate technology. So I'm going to go ahead and show you one of the videos that we have. Let me get out of here. That talks about this myth. We're actually creating a series of them, and this is the first one.
The video series presents.
Let me start that at the beginning.
Tyke's Foundations of Assistive Technology video series presents The Myths of Assistive Technology Use with Young Children. Myth: assistive technology equals computers and tablets. When parents of young children hear the words assistive technology, the first thing they may think of is computers and tablets. Often, the first reaction is, my child is too young for computers and tablets. The truth is, assistive technology, or AT, consists of a range of items that includes computers and tablets, but is certainly not limited to computers and tablets. For this family, Alex's teacher mentioned that assistive technology might benefit him, but his parents are not sure how they feel about using computers with their toddler. I understand their concerns. The part that was left off the message is that assistive technology represents a range of technology to meet a wide range of needs for infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about. Here at the Simon Technology Center, we have a wide range of technology items to meet a range of needs. Some we can purchase, some we can make, and some we can modify. It all depends on what the child needs. These are just a few examples. Bottle holders can help babies hold bottles more independently. The Grow clock can help young children learn when it's time to sleep and when it's an okay time to get out of bed. Drawing and writing are fun activities, but can be difficult on flat surfaces for some kids. This ordinary clipboard has been modified into a slant board to make it easier for kids to art, write, or view a book. This is a rattle that helps youngsters associate cause and effect through sounds. Sound boxes combine matching skills and sound. The child matches a block to another block that makes the same sound. We also have switch-enabled toys like this. These toys help children with disabilities access and play with toys. And yes, AT includes computers and tablets that offer many accessible features, apps, and software that can make them great tools for children when appropriately matched with the need. Alex's parents brought their concerns to his teacher. Her explanation that assistive technology is more than computers and tablets helped them feel better about trying something called assistive technology. Now, they're both excited to talk about it at their upcoming meeting and explore things that might help Alex. Assistive technology is not only computers and tablets. Assistive technology represents a range of items, including computers and tablets, to meet a range of needs. This has been Tyke's Foundations of Assistive.
Okay. So any questions about the range or the continuum of assistive technology before I move on to some more stuff? And Karen, go ahead and ask questions throughout. I'm perfectly okay with that if there are any.
Sounds good. I've been monitoring the questions in the chats and the hand raising, and so far there are no questions.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what a range of AT and having that available for a child, what that actually looks like. And we'll talk a little bit more about Maya and the Don't Wait to Communicate webinar. But Maya is a little girl who, I believe she's in 2nd grade now. But she started off with her communication book, which was made up of symbols that were printed and put into this binder. And over time, and she still uses the book, but over time she's also grown into an iPad and an app with a low-tech key guard over the top. And she uses an app called Speak for Yourself, where some of the buttons you can see are hidden. When it's in full-blown app, it kind of covers that whole page. But she has a variety of strategies that she uses still through to help her communicate. Also, because they've introduced a communication device that also models what language and speech looks and sounds like, her speech has also grown and developed. So she uses a combination of signs, speech, her voice output device, and symbols to get her needs met, and she does this very successfully. We can also look at a range of AT for Max for writing. And for Max has a hard time holding things in his fingers, sensory-wise. And he is developing the skill of scribbling and writing. And so he uses a variety of pencil grips. But the team also looked at what are some of the other technologies that we could introduce to Max to help him to continue to develop both the fine motor skill of writing, but also the literacy and language skill of letters and words and sounds. And so they've introduced a keyboard. That's what you see in the bottom part of the screen here. It's an adapted keyboard with big buttons and bright colors, so you can see that all of the vowels are purple, the other letters are green, function keys are blue, the numbers are red. So he's got some visual supports, some big keys to help him to further scribble. Now he may not be forming words and sentences and phrases yet, but he can scribble in a very similar way to how other kids scribble with pencil and paper and still explore literacy. And even though he doesn't like to hold things in his hands and fingers, he does like to interact with the touch screen. And so they've also introduced a variety of apps that also will help support his skill development and letter developments, sounds, and other skills that he needs. Okay. The second myth I want to talk about is that AT can only be used in a setting that has the support of an AT specialist. And if we look at this group of people, what I like to ask is, can you pick out who the AT specialist is? And we can. And the reality is that school districts often don't have somebody whose designated role is AT specialist. So the truth is, AT is everyone's responsibility. The thing is we just need to know that assistive technology exists. That's our starting point, and then we search for other information to help us, and when we don't have enough information to make those decisions, we look for other people on the team to support that. So AT can and should be used by professionals, family members, people out in the community, and it should be used across environments. So at school, at home, and out in the community, because what we're doing is supporting a lifelong, for some kids, I'm going to pause and say, for some kids, assistive technology is that bridge, and they outgrow the need for assistive technology. They develop the skills, they don't need that support anymore, and they move on. For other kids, assistive technology will be a lifelong part of their life, and it will grow and change with them as they grow and change. And so using it across environments helps children understand. It becomes a tool, just like a spoon, or other things that we use across environments that I can use anywhere. You also need to know that you do not need to be an AT expert to know that children can benefit from technology and then advocate for the use of that technology. You can start the conversation, and when you need more help, you ask for who is the person in the district who is responsible for that type of information. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the PowerPoint again. We're going to go to this is one of the projects that Karen mentioned that we run, our technology to improve kids' educational success. And as a part of this project, we created a variety of really robust resources. So one of the first ones that we created were some video series specifically about building capacity for assistive technology. So the first one is about, I don't know if they have the whole minute up here, it's a little under an hour of information about what is assistive technology. And we've divided it up into chunks, and then we've also scaffolded it with some support materials and handouts that you can use for your own personal growing or to share with your team. So what is assistive technology, examples of AT, how to explore it and make decisions about AT, having high expectations, and we even wrote something for administrators to help them support building capacity in a school. One of, and I'm going to show you this one. One of the tools that we created was a really simple flowchart to help teams go through something called the consideration process. And you don't need an AT specialist to do this. And what it's about is because at every IEP meeting, you should be having a conversation called consideration. And this consideration conversation is just that. It's a conversation about how AT can help this child meet their learning goals. And so the flowchart takes you through a couple of questions and helps guide the process for making decisions about whether AT needs to be included and then how to include it. And there's some additional support material. You'll see that the flowchart will tell you, for example, if we go down, and is this student currently using AT on the left, and we say yes. In the purple, it says it supports documenting the need for AT in the IEP, and then document by using the second possible outcome of the child-centered AT plan. So there's a 2-page plan that further helps to document what AT you're going to look at and how you're going to write it into your document. And we have a whole training series on this as well. But I wanted to just show you that that resource is available for you. Okay. One of my favorite stories about the power of assistive technology and just knowing that it can help kids is one of the services that we offer here, and you want to look to your local AT resources to see what kind of services they offer, but we do free tech consultations for families. And after we introduced Leo, this little kiddo, to some assistive technology, he said, I can do this, which, you know, the building, not just the acquisition of skills, but that building of confidence about what you can do and being independent can be really powerful. Another myth we like to talk about is that a child must be old enough or for older children and students, they must demonstrate prerequisite skills in order to benefit from AT or to start using AT. And the truth is, AT helps children of all ages. There's been a number of research studies, and all of these research studies have been that I've referenced here have been around young children, show that in even just a short amount of time, AT can make a really big difference. And the research supports that over and over and over again. There's nothing in the literature that says that AT will hurt or harm development, and everything shows that it will help with the development of skills, with that feeling of self as a person. It's just, it's pretty strong evidence in the data. It also suggests that AT can significantly improve outcomes for infants and toddlers and improve both their socio-emotional and pre-academic skills. And I'd be happy to share any of that research if you want to take a deeper dive into things. So before we go into that, so a couple of the things that kind of come to mind, because I'm a speech therapist, a lot of my experience has been with communication devices, and this is a barrier that I run into quite frequently, is that young children need to have some sort of prerequisite skills, such as cause and effect, before we're going to introduce them to a device where they have to press buttons in sequence to compose a message in order to say something. And all of the research that's been done on that, think about, one of the things to think about with this is that with typical developing children, we don't not talk to them because they haven't demonstrated some prerequisite skills to us. All of that talking and interacting that we do with them for the first 2 years of their life is the foundation of the language that they're going to use as they grow, the speech that they're going to develop. And we need to do the same thing for children who are going to need an alternative way to communicate. And we'll talk more about that in the Don't Wait to Communicate webinar as well. A quote that I heard quite recently, actually about a week ago, was "Don't blame the lettuce." And a lot of times, in the work that I've done, we've tried to implement some different technologies, and some different things don't work. And so, and oftentimes it's, well, let me tell you about this quote. So when you plant lettuce and it doesn't grow well, you don't blame the lettuce. You go back and you look at what kind of soil did you use? Did you give it enough water? Did it have enough sunlight? The lettuce isn't responsible for how it grew. We look at what are the things that we can change to produce better lettuce. Same type of thing when we're implementing not just educational strategies, but assistive technology. What was it about what we tried that didn't work? And oftentimes when we introduce technology or try it, sometimes the answer is not yet. So this doesn't look like it's the solution right now, but it may be something that we'll try again when the child's a little bit older. This is 16-month-old Pax, who's learning to say eat. I like his video because it's an example of showing you what can happen with a very young child who's developing those language skills. Let's see if we can get his video. His mother is actually a speech therapist, and she, okay, where are you? Okay, let's find her. Her name is Lindsay Carhill, and she is a speech therapist, and she has twins. Lindsay, is that you? Let's see if it's her. Yeah, and here are her videos. She has twin boys. One of them was developing typically. And her other little guy, Pax, was not. And so she's introducing him to a device with a very complex communication system on it called Unity is the name of the language system. It's a Prentke-Romich device. She has hidden most of the symbols on here. So the one that is illuminated is the symbol for eat, and it does have a key guard on it. So watch what happens as she just introduces, and he's, again, 16 months old, so he's pretty little.
This one. The next one. That one right there. Eat. Eat.
So she's modeling for him. She's giving him a reinforcer, something that's related exactly to what it is he's asking for.
Eat. Yummy, yummy, yummy.
He knows that it's going to get him something.
Get another one. Can you ask to eat? Try again. Eat. Eat. You got it. Got another one for you. Try again. You want to eat? Say eat. Eat.
So he's learning.
All right. We got 2 more left. Not that one. Eat. Yummy, 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 yummy. Yummy, 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 yummy.
Starting to find it independently.
Eat. Eat. Eat, eat, eat. You did. Great job. All right. One more. One more. All the pictures.
So what she's showing you is she turned on all of the symbols.
Yummy. You can
Here's
eat
brother.
Another bite to eat? You say eat? I want to eat. Great job! Yay, thanks!
And so that's just a really quick, kind of really nice, whoops, that's not the one I want. There we go. Example of using very complex technology with a young child, and then she would continue to model over time.
Okay, how does it work?
Hold on, that's my video.
I don't know about the other parts of Medicare.
Fortunately, I knew right away what that was. Go back to our PowerPoint. Almost tech or glitch-free. Another myth that we have is that AT is primarily for children with severe or significant disabilities. And oftentimes, if people do have an understanding of assistive technology in their head, they'll picture kids that have very physical or very visually apparent disabilities. And the truth is that AT can provide benefits for all disabilities and all ages. And again, it's based on identifying what is the need, what does this child need to be able to do, and is there technology that we can match and find to do that. So probably our biggest category of folks that come to the Center for Help are the invisible disabilities. And so, and around reading and writing. So kids with dyslexia, ADHD, some autism, and they need help with a variety of skills. The big question is, let's identify what they need help doing, what's hard for them, and what technology can we use to help bridge the gap between what they can do and what they would like to do. And this is what some of that AT can look like. Visual supports. Visual supports is probably one of the most under-identified pieces of assistive technology, and especially when it comes to documenting this type of technology in the IEP or the IFSP, so the Individual Education Program or Individual Family Service Plan. We know that many classrooms use visual supports, especially preschool classrooms, kindergarten classrooms use a lot of visual supports. When we would write it into an IEP or IFSP is when that child needs it. That if we take away that support for that, that tool, there's a decrease in their learning. There's something that they cannot do because that support is not there for them. Social stories, behavior support, sensory supports, writing supports, and then fill in the blank, much more. What's neat is that for those kids who are going to be lifelong learners and users of assistive technology, as they grow and change, so might their AT. So that visual support could now be on an iPhone. This is an app called 3030 that helps with organizing my schedule. My social story now can be grown up. This is the social story app is called Quick Cues, and it has text scripts for helping learners kind of get through some things, some social conversations on the job. My behavior support, my time timer, which was on the teacher's desk or maybe on the counter at home, can now be a watch that I wear on my wrist that gives me a visual cue about how much time is left or how much time until. My sensory supports might stay looking the same, and then my writing supports can also have some electronic components. This is the Livescribe Pen that uses special paper to record what is being said at the lecture, what the teacher is saying, with what the student or child is writing, and it syncs those two things together and helps a learner navigate what they heard or what they were listening to. Okay, and these are some of them, the closing thoughts about kind of wrapping those types of things up, is that the benefits of AT make it worth busting the myths and the barriers that prevent the consideration and implementation of AT. One of the biggest tragedies in the work that I do is that some of the students that come to us are coming to us getting ready to transition out of high school. They're looking at what's, life after high school, what does that look like? And they have never in their career or to their recollection looked at assistive technology. And in those meetings and conversations that we have, we often find some pretty simple tools that can help them read, write, organize, and be independent. And so it's exciting that we have that opportunity, but sad that we didn't start having those conversations way back because they are a lifelong learner and user of assistive technology. They just never had that opportunity to see the benefits. That's AT is used to support a child or a student's development and learning. AT consists of a range of items, and oftentimes what is going to help them be successful is going to be a combination of low-tech, mid-tech, and high-tech. They're going to have a variety of things in their personal toolkit. AT is everyone's responsibility. Even though there may be an AT specialist on the team, everybody on the team can own a part of that technology. As far as advocating, learning about it, training others, and having those conversations about the very important assistive technology. And that AT use is dynamic due to ongoing changes in a child's development and learning. And also, earlier we talked about the very rapid advances in availability of technology. What is available to today might look different from what's available 3 months, 6 months. I used to say years. When you think about how long it used to take for some of those technology advances to kind of come to market, but now it seems like it's a matter of months rather than years, and we're still seeing pretty rapid changes in technology. So there are some things that might help children tomorrow that aren't available yet today, and that's exciting. Here are some resources for you. We have a plethora of resources on our website, including handouts, training materials, and videos. And one of the things that we do that might be interesting to folks is that we live stream most of the technology workshops that we do here in the Simon Technology Center. And live stream is very similar to a webinar, but we also broadcast to a live audience that comes here at Pacer. And we also have a couple of cameras, so you get to see and interact with the presenter as well. The Lindsay Carhill, this is her YouTube channel. She has a variety of videos, kind of, and I especially like the ones where she shows success with very young children. Maya, the little girl I talked about that has a variety of strategies that she uses. This is her mother's blog page and her YouTube channel, and we'll look a little bit deeper at that at the webinar on Don't Wait to Communicate. And then also the Center on Technology and Disability has a wide variety of resources for families. They have a specific entryway into the website for families. And so I encourage you to check that out. The next webinar is, and Karen, you'll have to let me know if I got this wrong, but this is the date I have on my calendar, is Don't Wait to Communicate, and we'll talk about the importance of introducing communication devices to children early. And that's on November 2nd. Same time, same channel.
I am looking on the calendar right now because you beat me to the punch. I was going to plug that as well. And I have a different date.
Okay. So this might be a question.
No, actually, you are correct. My date is incorrect. It is November 2nd.
Awesome. So I was going to put a question mark by it. But so that will be a fun one as well. Again, that's one of my one of the topics I'm pretty passionate about. And then we'll just end with that slide. So did any questions pop up?
I have a couple of questions for you in queue, and so I'm going to turn it over to Ashley Gill, who's going to ask her question.
I was wondering, does a student need to be evaluated in order to use assistive tech independently in the classroom across the lifespan?
Okay, that's a really good question. It was really hard to hear, so I don't know if I'm going to repeat the question, and then just let me know if I got the question right. So does a child or a student need to be evaluated before using assistive technology in the classroom?
Yes.
Okay, that's a great question. So legally, teams need to do what's called consideration during the IEP meeting. So they have a conversation, and I'm going to take writing because writing is a really easy one to visualize. And let's say we have a student who's struggling with writing, and so the team can talk about, are there tools out there that can help him improve his writing? And the team may know right away that, you know what, hey, we've got this word prediction software that we think will help him with his writing, because what he struggles with specifically is spelling. He's got great thoughts, he can verbalize really well, and so we're going to try this co-writer thing. So the team makes a decision about what they're going to try. At this point, there's no evaluation involved. They have a pretty good idea of what they think will work, and they're going to enter a process then where they're going to try it. I would encourage teams to put brackets around the length of time that you're going to try it, verbalize that, document it, so that it doesn't become this kind of unending process where you're always trying stuff but never landing on something. And so for Johnny, we're going to try this word prediction. There are a couple that maybe the district is using with other students that they want to try and see what's going to work, and then maybe somebody says, hey, why don't we also try some dictation software, because he also struggles a little bit with the physical act of writing. So we're going to try those three things. We're going to try it over this time period, and then we're going to come together and talk about what the difference is. And then you need to decide what is going to indicate to us, the team, the parents, the teachers, that this is the tool. So you're going to collect information or data, and we want to look at maybe the number of words that he's writing, his confidence of himself as a writer, how he likes or interacts with the tools, and then make some decisions about actually then implementing it. And then you could try these things, and I would encourage you to try them in the classroom, where he's actually going to be doing some of the tasks that he needs to do. So still at this point, we haven't done any evaluation. We're trying it. The team comes back together and says, you know what, dictation doesn't work really well because he needs to kind of do it on the fly. He's still young. But word prediction, you know, we all go to the computer lab and do our writing there. It's available to him there. That worked really well. You know, there was an improvement in the number of words that he wrote, and so that's the tool that we're going to write into the IEP, and we're going to make sure that that is available to him. And then we need to say, does he need more training on it to use it successfully? Does his teacher or any of his support people need training on it so that they can support him? And we did all of that without an evaluation, and implementing it and making decisions about it in the classroom. Now, where an evaluation might come in is if we had that same student and we didn't have any idea about what, either real good information about what his needs were or real good information about what we thought that what tools might work. We might bring in an AT specialist, or we might say, you know what, we just need to do kind of an evaluation so that we can hone in on both those two things, the needs, the very specific needs, and then what technology we think might help. And when the team does do specifically an evaluation, it's more common to do the first scenario that I talked about, where you have a conversation, you kind of identify some technology that you want to try, you try it, and you go through that process. The evaluation piece is typically when we're stuck, we can't make a decision about something or don't have enough information. And then you might want to bring in an AT specialist or someone who has expertise in that area to conduct those evaluations. Evaluations at that point are going to have the same timeline that other special education evaluations are going to have. And then the team would meet again to discuss what were the results of the evaluation. Did that answer your question well?
Yeah, thank you.
So, and then a second question that is in queue is where people go to learn what might be out there to help them guide their questions and decisions. And as the Parent Training and Information Center for the state of Iowa, we see that a lot, not only from families, but also from educators who say, you know, things get invented and changed so often that it's hard to keep my finger on the pulse of what's out there that I might be able to use. So are there some lists or, you know, somewhere where resources are just sort of define, if you will, what types of assistive technology is out there so that people can go into team meetings or a meeting with an assistive technology specialist sort of already thinking about what they might need or what to try?
Yeah, that's a great question. The development of lists, especially in our age of rapidly changing technology, is a little bit harder to keep up with. So typically, there are a couple of places I think that maintain lists, but it's hard to keep them current. One of the dangers of also having a list is also treating that list like it's a menu, and that the only things the things on the list are the only things that we should look at or talk about. So if you do have a list, just be aware that there might be other things out there that you want to consider. So the first place I would probably recommend that people go is every state has a federally funded Assistive Technology Act program. And I can send you the link to, I don't know that I'd be able to find it quickly, but it lists who that organization is in your state. And so that might be the first line of defense, is to go to that federally funded program and ask them, do you have a list of things and resources that are available specific to my state? So who are the specialists in my area that I could call and ask that question of? Because that's one of the questions we get here at the Technology Center all the time, is I'm going into a meeting, my child has this kind of profile, here what the needs are there some common technologies that we might want to consider? And so we typically do that through communication, and again, we have a wide variety of handouts on our webpage that talk a lot about the process and going down through things. But and then the Center on Technology and Disability also has a searchable database. So if you're looking specifically for tools for writing, what resources do you have in your library, in your webinar database that are about tools for writing? And I'd have to check to see if they had any list either, but just know that the reason that they aren't more readily available is that they're hard to keep current.
That sounds great, and it's understandable given, like you say, given the times today and how quickly things change. At this time, I don't see any other questions in queue. I'm going to give it just a minute here and ask if anybody else has a question. Please raise your hand or type the question in the questions pane on your webinar dashboard. And at this time, I do not see anybody typing, and let me look, I do not have any hands up. So at this point, I think we are going to wrap this webinar today. Thank you again so much, Bridget, for your time today, and we look forward to having you back as a guest speaker again in November.
Awesome. And I put my contact information back up on the screen. I forgot to include a phone number, but my email address is there, and my phone number is 952-838-9000.